What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm bringing you something a little bit different today on the channel. Not the kind of thing that I've done in the past. However, this does actually happen to be one of my favorite games, so we're going to check it out. Now, what we are going to do is actually play on beginner, because all that means is that we start from level 1. Were we to choose expert, we would be starting from level 3 and skipping part of the game, so that would be why. What are we playing today? We are playing The Lost World Jurassic Park, the arcade game. This was a game that was released by Sega in 1997. Obviously, it is a tie-in for the movie and is sort of loosely based on the movie. In the beginning there, the guy tells you we have to save Ian and Sarah. However, the characters that are supposed to represent Ian and Sarah do not really represent Ian and Sarah very well. Put it this way, there is no Jeff Goldblum in this game, unfortunately, so we don't get a lot of but it's fine. The simplest way to explain this game, not that it's rocket science, is this is basically House of the Dead with dinosaurs. And what more do you want, really? It's pretty great. More so than just, like, you know, coasting on the success of Jurassic Park or something. The game actually does some fairly interesting things. I mean, don't get your hopes up too much. It's not like groundbreaking or revolutionary or anything. But there's enough variety and just fun stuff in this to keep it interesting. Now, funny story about this game. It's not really a funny story, nor is it all that interesting, but it's an anecdote nonetheless. I actually played this game originally. It must have been somewhere around 97. If that's when this came out, maybe 97, 98. For one of my birthdays as a youngin', we actually went to an arcade, and the plan was, all right, we're going to beat this game. And brought along $20 in order to do so. I'm sure it was 4 tokens / $1 for 1 credit. And $20 ended up not being enough. So I distinctly remember being at the game over screen where the countdown is moving, and my mom running to the token machine to get some more tokens. Those were the days. Those were the days. But, you know, I came back to it recently, and I gotta say, it is pretty much just as fun as I remember it being back then. Except maybe now I'm a little bit better at aiming. That actually brings us to an interesting topic, though. How the heck do you play this game, and more so, how the heck do you capture it? Well, I'm not going to go too far into that, for reasons, but Supermodel. Look it up. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So, probably the highlight of the game here is every level has at least one boss fight. And just as you would expect in this kind of game, those are probably the coolest parts. The bosses follow the kind of House of the Dead formula here. We have these circles appear, and you got to shoot the circles within a certain amount of time. That'll stop you from getting hit by the dinosaurs. In this case, our lovely Tyrannosaurus Rex female. You'll notice you can do a little bit of damage just by shooting them as they run past, but the majority of your damage is going to come from hitting the circles. Circles will change color as they appear, and once they get to red, you are in trouble if you don't hit them. Like I'm not going to here. Yep. And one thing I did notice from playing this multiple times was that the circles don't appear in the same position every time. So they're semi-random, which basically means you don't know, like, oh, the circle's going to appear exactly here every single time. I'm sure that's designed to, you know, take as many of your credits as possible. But it also makes it, you know, stay interesting. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the Lost World Jurassic Park arcade, this was never released on any other systems other than just the original arcade cabinet. You see what I mean about the variety here? Like, this is a little bit different, right? That's gonna hurt. Oh, that's gonna hurt. Yep. Yep, that hurts. So it came out in '97. There were plans to actually release a port for the Sega Saturn, which never happened, unfortunately, probably due to the fate of the Sega Saturn. Then there were plans to create a port for the Sega Dreamcast, which did not happen, probably due to the fate of the Sega Dreamcast. And that's just messed up. Did you see the way it like sucked back in? That's just not right. That is not right at all. But anyways, yeah, probably due to, you know, the fate of the Sega Dreamcast. RIP, one of my favorite consoles. I still have it hooked up to a TV, in fact. And that would have been really awesome, because actually the Dreamcast did have a light gun peripheral. The Saturn probably did too, I don't know off the top of my head. I remember being at a buddy's house. My buddy actually owned a Dreamcast, and he had the light gun. We did a Confidential Mission playthrough. If you don't know Confidential Mission, we might have to check that out at some point. It is a hilarious light gun game. But yeah, I mean, on the Dreamcast with light guns, just shooting at the TV. It was fun. Although, you know, those kind of peripherals tend to be pretty expensive, so it's kind of hard to justify them. But for this, yeah, it might have been worth it. But anyways, we had the Saturn version that was canned. We had the Dreamcast version that was canned. And then, apparently, there was possibly going to be a PC version. And actually, as I'm looking back at my research, my very extensive research that I did for this video, which was mostly looking at the Wikipedia page and like bare bones stuff, the Saturn version actually was not planned. It was revealed that the Saturn was in fact not powerful enough to run this, which would make sense. But they were planning to do it for the Dreamcast, and that never happened, unfortunately. Such a shame, such a shame. I do think, you know, there might be a market for something like this. Maybe on, like, PC or something? You know, we don't really have light gun peripherals that are mainstream, but you can play this with keyboard and mouse. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing right now. Or maybe we could have something like typing of the dinos, like we have typing of the dead. I don't know. I think that if they released this with a semi-competent port on PC, that people would buy it. But what do I know? Now, what's kind of neat as well here, in terms of the variety, is that not only are the bosses, of course, different dinosaurs or other creatures, in the case of this dude right here, not technically a dinosaur. There's also a little bit of variation in the way that the bosses play. So this guy obviously spends much of the fight hidden, and instead of having lots of circles that you're given a reasonable amount of time to hit, he has like one circle that you have only a split second to hit. That's a little bit different. Kind of like it. Again, just another reason why this game, even were it not for the theme, which of course the theme is the main reason that most people would be interested in it, myself included, it is just solid in a pure gameplay sense. Now, in my, once again, somewhat limited, very limited, research of this game, I discovered that apparently there was actually like a special edition that was released in Japan. And this came out a couple years later. I believe it was like 2001 or something, or no, my notes say 1998. So the original came out in 97, and the special edition was in 98, but it was Japan only, as far as I know. What that did was actually open up the screen size, make it bigger, and added some kind of gimmicky stuff that honestly would be pretty cool if you were in an arcade. Like, there was air that blew on you when the T-Rex would roar. That stuff that, what we would call it, 4D. That was somewhat of a fad, wasn't it? But apparently even back in 98, they were thinking that way. But in addition to that, apparently, and I've never seen this, maybe there's some footage of it floating around on YouTube. Obviously never seen an actual cabinet. It kind of added some new stuff, like cut content, and made the game more closely resemble the movie. Because as we I'm sure, are noticing this does not resemble the movie hardly at all. The part that I would be most interested in fact, was that apparently one of the levels actually featured the T-Rex going through San Diego, just like in the movie, which is pretty cool. Or at least I assume it would be. I haven't actually seen it. Now you'll notice here I have the lightning gun. I picked up like a grenade launcher earlier. You do get an opportunity to get a few different special weapons. However, they're actually seldom better than the default gun. You'll notice that I actually lost a life there because the electric gun fires more slowly than the default pistol. Thanks, pal. Those little encounters, by the way, play out as you would expect from like House of the Dead or something. You can fail them if you accidentally shoot the dude or if he gets killed by the dinosaurs. You know what's funny is that this part was always really, really hard in the arcade because you had to like accurately aim at the buttons. But anyways. By the way, I guess I didn't mention it, but in the States at least, I'm sure that the special edition in Japan was like a full, you go in and sit inside it kind of thing. There were, I think, 2 versions of this. I could be wrong, there could be more, but there were at least 2. One of them was just a stand-up, you know, arcade cabinet with 2 light guns on it, but one of them you did actually go inside. You sat down in it, had sort of like surround sound and stuff. And that's the version that I played. You know, very cool experience inside an actual arcade, especially when you're a kid. You gotta wonder here, by the way, why did we decide to just stop in the middle of the zip line? Like, don't you think if we were just moving as quickly as possible, we could get past this? Once again, though, what do I know? Now, Jurassic Park actually has kind of a history of, I wouldn't say legendary, but well-known arcade games. There was the original Jurassic Park arcade game, which came out a few years before, like 94 or something. That one was a little bit different. It's technically a light gun game, but you know, a little bit different. It had like the rapid fire thing. Maybe we'll do that one at some point. I actually only played that one a few times as a kid. This one I played much more, and actually beat, as I mentioned. And then there was also a Jurassic Park 3 one that came out a few years after, but I'm trying to remember, I don't think I ever actually played that one. I'll have to look up some footage of it or something, but yeah, I don't think I ever played that one. But if it were anything like this one, then I'm sure it was good. All these, by the way, although produced by Sega, the last one was actually made by Konami. Nowadays, I guess they would probably do like a pachinko machine or something. Sad times. Yeah, and that one was actually developed and published by Konami, so Sega had nothing to do with that one, but they, I believe they made the original Jurassic Park one. So for some reason, they decided to get Konami for the third one. Well, if it was anything like the third movie, it was probably a letdown when compared to the first 2, but hey. Now, funnily enough, I think I mentioned this in like one of my other videos on some other game that I can't remember specifically what it was. The 90s, in a way, although we had tons and tons of shovelware when it came to the licensed games, a lot of the licensed games actually ended up being pretty good. The, I guess the 2000s, you would say, were like the worst period for licensed games, where you just had these horrible, horrible licensed games, like shovelware being pumped out, but we actually had some fairly good ones back then. Like, I'm thinking of some of the other Jurassic Park games, specifically like the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo ones. That is a cheap enemy placement right there, and you know it. But, like, Sega Genesis, which was my console growing up, we had Jurassic Park Rampage Edition, and then The Lost World. And all three of those were actually pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't call them, like, the best games ever, but they were actually pretty good. And then the NES, of course, had a Jurassic Park game. I think a couple Jurassic Park games. I've only played one of them. The SNES had some, and all of them were pretty good. Not to mention stuff like Chaos Island for the PC, which was an RTS. I actually own it. I tried installing it, and it didn't really work, but I might be able to, like, virtual machine it if I really wanted to. I could maybe do a playthrough of that at some point. Jurassic Park Trespasser, which is the legendary one of the worst games ever made, but I still love it. So ambitious, and just they ran out of time and money. I actually did a playthrough of that a really long time ago, but I kind of want to revisit it. It's just one of those really strange games that is legendary for several reasons. But yeah, all in all, Jurassic Park has had a pretty good run of the video games. I've never played any of the, like, much newer ones, like the Park Builder one or the like QTE story one. But I'm sure they're fine. See, now this is a little bit more like the movie, right? We're not exactly in a one-for-one here, but it's similar. There's another cheap shot coming up, by the way, right there. Notice I just start spamming at the door as soon as we turn around. I almost never am able to hit that one. And you lose a life there if the baby gets bit, so not cool. Not cool. So as I mentioned, each level has at least one boss fight. This level has two. We got 2 T-Rex to take care of. By the way, I know it's a game and it doesn't have to fit in 100% with the lore, but I'm pretty sure with the number of dinosaurs we killed, we've just wiped out, like, the entire dinosaur population of Site B. Like, how many raptors did we kill? Almost 100? Like, somewhere between 50 and 100 raptors, probably. Surely they wouldn't have bred much more than that. I don't know. Anyways, we are getting near the end of the game. I guess the one thing we haven't talked about in terms of the history of the game was the reception, which was the last bit I had in my notes. The game did get pretty much across the board positive reviews at the time, and rightly so. It is great, as I think I've demonstrated here. The graphics back then especially were very much enjoyed, as they are now. Like, you know, it's low poly, it's kind of low tech, especially for modernized, but it does a good job, especially when in motion, of looking pretty good. I think that's the key there, is the motion. You know, you're not sitting here on, you know, the dinosaurs standing still and really getting to look at how, you know, low poly they are, or the textures aren't the best. Like, okay, the grass texture is not the best, but it really doesn't matter. When the game's in motion, it looks great still. Now, apparently, some gaming websites and magazines, I honestly, I don't read too many of those, so I'm not sure exactly which ones, were putting this on, like, lists of games that we want to see ports of, or, you know, games that need to be revived, best arcade games. Not that long ago they were doing this, and again, I can't blame them. I'm really choking here at the end of this, aren't I? Okay, we're good, we're good. And again, I would not disagree. I do think this is quite the great game. And even without the nostalgia, I think that you'll still have a lot of fun with this one if you manage to track it down or do the other thing. I love that part. You just turn around, he's sitting there staring at you like, hey guys. So good. Like, look at that look. What is he trying to convey? I'm not exactly sure. Well, at any rate, we are going to be able to clear the game with less than 9 credits, so that's something. This line kills me right here.
It's too quiet.
It's too quiet. Also, how did he get back there? No, whatever. That's a wrap, everybody. We did it. We wiped out entire species. Although I think supposedly in the lore, like, we're shooting tranquilizer darts. Except for when we're not, when we're shooting like rocket launchers and stuff. Supposedly it's supposed to be tranquilizer darts. I don't know how they're having that much stopping power, but we won't worry about it. That's it. That's Jurassic Park, The Lost World, or scratch that, The Lost World Jurassic Park Arcade. Hope you enjoyed this little playthrough. If you ever manage to track this down somehow, I would highly recommend it. It's a heck of a lot of fun. And, yeah, that was pretty much it. Just wanted to take you down a little bit of memory lane for me, but for a game that still definitely holds up even today. I do have a few other Jurassic Park games already on the channel, like way back in the day. I did Jurassic Park Trespasser and Jurassic Park Rampage Edition for the Genesis. I definitely want to do more. There's, well, at least the ones that I've played already. Jurassic Park The Lost World, and Jurassic Park Rampage Edition for the Genesis. Definitely do like long plays and probably commentated runs of those. I really want to do Jurassic Park Trespasser again. Not sure if I'll do a full commentated one, so let me know, because I already have that, but it is old, like really old, from the very beginning of the channel. But at least a long play of that, going through everything. But I might do, yeah, I don't know, we'll see. Might do a more in-depth breakdown of it. But that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this one. Oh, look at the little baby. He looks like he's doing some sort of weird, like, troll face or meme face or something. But, yeah, that's it. Thanks, Sega. Why didn't you ever release a port? Why did you never release a port? Alright, let's take a look at my score. I'm sure it's not great. I have no idea what to compare it to. We'll just go Shinsen 88, I guess. I go back and forth between that and AAA. That's all she wrote. Thanks for watching, everybody. Didn't even beat my own high score. See you on the next video. If you got any suggestions, as always, let me know, and I'll take a look at them. Until next time.